Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina. Just a little late to the live stream show tonight. Unfortunately, we were running into some technical difficulties, but we're live. And thanks for joining us on this beautiful Sunday night, April 10th, for our live stream show. And I missed you guys last week. It's good to be back. Good to have you all join us again for another live stream show. We got a great show lined up for you. Because we missed a week, we've got tons and tons of photos to show you and to talk about. Want to make sure to give a shout out to our good friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle. This show is brought to you by Gator Jim's Tackle over at 3301 Pinellas Point Drive in South in St. Pete, Florida, 33712. Check out our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle. Huge selection. They got it all down there at Gator Jim's. It's a really, really cool place. If you haven't stopped by before, highly recommend checking out our friends at Gator Jim's. Also want to give a shout out to all those of you who are sending stars. Saw a lot of people sending stars as we were getting ready and rolling through some of our technical difficulties. Unfortunately, we were scrambling a little bit, so couldn't keep up with everybody, but thank you all for those of you sending stars on Facebook. If you're not watching on Facebook, stars are just a way for people to kind of show their support, and it helps aid us in doing cool things like these shows and all our other online endeavors. So appreciate all that support from those of you watching on Facebook and sending stars. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe. If you're watching on Instagram, don't forget you can pop over to Instagram.com on your phone's browser. Look up Instagram.com on your phone's browser, find the live show, then you can turn your phone sideways. You'll be able to see the full screen. But you can watch through the Instagram app. It's just going to show you only the middle of the screen. Keep that in mind. Also, if you're watching on Trovo, Twitch, make sure you subscribe to our channel and follow us. If you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, don't forget to like our page and give the video a like for us and share it to your favorite fishing group, forum, page. Don't forget to share it to your timeline. Tell your friends. We appreciate it, guys. Also, if you want to win some of the free fishing trips we're giving away tonight, don't forget you got to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. If you're watching on Instagram, YouTube, Trovo, Twitch, you have to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. So pop on over to facebook.com, find the Hubbard's Marina page, and make sure you click on that live video and comment once. And then you can watch on YouTube, Trovo, Twitch, Instagram, wherever you want to watch it. But in order to be eligible to win, you have to comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. Okay, guys? Then you have to watch the whole show live, because if you're picked as one of those lucky winners, you got 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. You got 5 minutes to text that phone number right there, your full home address. So make sure if you want to win free trips, you got to watch the whole show live. You got to claim your free trip within 5 minutes. If you're picked as one of those lucky winners, you have to comment one time. You don't actually have to say the words one time, but I like your style, Brian Angle. Slick. All right, so with that, we are going to get into our photos and show you guys what we've been catching inshore, and then we're going to work our way offshore, show you guys what we've been seeing near shore and offshore, and let's get right into it. So inshore lately, we've been seeing a lot of these Jack Crevalle. Jack Crevalle season is upon us. We get these guys really thick this time of year, moving in really big schools, super active, super aggressive, and we see quite a few big schools moving around. So if you see birds working, you see the top of the water getting disturbed inshore, a lot of times it's going to be a big school of jacks, and they bite just about anything you throw at them, and they're a lot of fun. Drag, screaming fun for sure. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for those jacks. The redfish action's been pretty good lately. We're definitely seeing quite a few redfish. A lot of kind of schooly fish cruising those mangrove shorelines, oyster bars, grass flats. But we are seeing a few schools of redfish still too. And let's see here. We've also got some more redfish kind of cruising along those oyster bars. We're still seeing a few of them around those dock lines too. Soft plastic paddle tails, a great way to target them. The white bait's becoming a better and better option to try to target those redfish. Live shrimp were the kind of go-to option, but definitely transitioning more to that white bait. Those pinfish, free line pinfish is a great option. Dead bait works really well for redfish once that water really heats up, but the water's not real hot yet. The snook action's been real good as of late. We've been seeing a lot of these snook moving around. This size snook, like the kind of average teenage size snook, have been super prolific and actively feeding around the flats, mangrove shorelines, a bunch of different areas. So the juvenile kind of schooly size snook are super aggressive, super prolific, and really feeding well. Bigger fish, a little tougher to find, but they are moving into the passes and setting up for that kind of summertime kind of pattern where we start to see them really hang out in those bridge lights, dock lights around the passes at night, during the day deeper in the water around the passes and moving out onto our beaches. Back Bay, lots of these schooly size, kind of more average size snook, and very active. Lot of white bait action, soft plastics, the mirror lure, Mirrodine, really great option. Free line pinfish, great option too. You can see all these snook photos there, just never ending. Trout bite has actually picked up a little bit, it seems like, the last week. A lot of people talking about trout. And kind of odd this time of year. Typically, it kind of gets a little softer, in my opinion, for trout. Normally, they're talked about a lot when that water's chilly. This year, we didn't really get a lot of them when the water was chilly. It wasn't super crazy, but seems like they picked up in action as the water started to warm up. Besides all these fish, we don't have photos for them right now, but there's definitely a lot of mackerel moving around. The mackerel have invaded Tampa Bay in force, and we're seeing a lot of mackerel around the mouth of Tampa Bay. Local fishing piers, the Skyway fishing piers, the Gulf Pier, Anna Maria Rod and Reel Pier, the City Pier, the Cortez Pier, Big Pier 60, all great options early morning to target those mackerel along the beaches. We're seeing pompano around those sandy passes around our beaches. A lot of pompano moving around. A few flounder still biting. Sheep's head are still, honestly, surprisingly pretty prolific and concentrated around docks. Just 2 days ago, we had probably 4 or 5 people slaying the sheep's head off the dock. But we're going to start to see that transition where we get less sheep's head and more of those mangrove snapper. With that, we've also got some near-shore and offshore photos to show you. We've definitely been seeing a lot of the fat red grouper now that deep water closure is over. It's concluded. We're able to go deep once again, seeing a lot of fat red grouper. The kingfish bite is on and popping, baby. A lot of kingfish on our 5-hour half day, 10-hour all days, private fishing charters near shore. The kingfish bite is here. So if you want to get out there and have that bonus of flatlining or trolling, the mackerel are super thick. Kingfish are really aggressive right now. So great time to come out and enjoy that kingfish and mackerel run. If you were wondering if it's happened yet, it's definitely on and popping right now. They are seemingly very thick. Today's half-day trip probably caught a dozen mackerel. No keeper kingfish today. Water was pretty muddy, so that made it a little tricky on the trolling. We've been seeing a lot of mangrove snapper. The mangrove snapper bite has been real consistent for us. And huge red grouper. Look at that thing. Out in deep water. Finally able to make it out there past 120 foot of water, and been seeing a lot of these fat stud red grouper. Plus, we're going to start seeing more of those scamp grouper now that we're fishing deeper too. So it's a great time to make it out deep when the weather allows, and we finally have a nice stretch of weather, which we'll talk a little bit about here shortly. But definitely some good grouper fishing action. This one right here, this is a Graysby strawberry grouper, most people call them. incredible eating fish. This is one of my favorite eating fish. Doesn't seem very big, but that's about as big as they get. And I was very, very happy with that catch from our recent slow pitch jigging trip. Didn't even really expect it. Didn't even know he was hooked. He ate a jig probably the size of him. But it was a nice benefit, kind of a bonus that I definitely wasn't expecting to come up. Nice mangrove snapper have been prolific. We're catching some yellowtails, as you saw. And have I mentioned the kingfish bite? I don't think I mentioned it yet, but bam. That's a 45-pound kingfish caught on a recent 39-hour trip. It actually ate a fish being reeled up from the bottom. An impressive catch, to say the least. Solid red grouper, just continue. There's a few hogfish being caught. Hogfish bite hasn't been stellar, but we're definitely seeing a few of them. Definitely a little trickier to find big concentrations of them, but there's still some hogfish being caught for sure. Mackerel, like I said, mackerel have been super thick, a great added bonus for our 5-hour half day. We're catching some of these mackerel on our way out of the channel. They're that thick, they're that close to shore. This was not caught by one of our boats, but this was caught 7 miles off of Anna Maria. It's that time of year where we spot those random sailfish, and you have a chance at catching one for sure. So kind of random, not something you can count on, but those unicorns happen this time of year for sure. So keep your eyes peeled while you're out there, and if you see something, say something. That's kind of our rule of thumb when it comes to those pelagic species. And as I said, the kingfish bite, it's just been real steady. So a lot of kingfish and mackerel, a few hogfish still, good mangrove snapper, lane snapper, a few red grouper near shore. Offshore, lots of those fat red groupers, some big scamp, real steady, solid mangroves. Yellowtails are picking up. We've got the steady pelagic action, blackfin tuna, kingfish. It is a good time to get out there, folks, let me tell you. So with that, we're going to give away our first free trip of the night. We're going to give away our 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. All you have to do is watch the show live. You're entered for a chance to win one of these free trips. This is a $200 and nearly $40 value. Let's see who the lucky winner is of that 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. Tim McCardle. Congratulations, Tim McCardle. You are that lucky winner of the 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. Make sure you text us your full home address within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. That's how you claim your free trip, Tim McCardle. So make sure you do it quick and prove you're watching live. Everybody else, we still got a 5-hour half day for 2 to give away. We still got a 39-hour trip for 1 guest to give away 2. So stay tuned, y'all. More stuff to come. With that, we're going to get into our weather and talk a little bit about weather until our good buddy Capt Mike calls. He's going to give us an inshore rundown here again this week, so we're waiting on him. But between now and then, let's talk a little bit about weather quickly. Right on our Hubbard's Marina page under fishing trips, you can scroll down and click the weather links page. And that's going to bring you to our weather links where we have our wind finder, NOAA forecasts, our webcams, buoys, weather modeling, radar, 7-day forecast, and also our ultimate storm page, spaghettimodels.com, or Mike's weather page. I always like starting out with wind finder and looking at that Egmont Key buoy, which is right there on our 5 and 10-hour forecast area. But you can see here, look at that beautifulness. Oh my goodness. It just makes me so happy when I see this. Look at those graphs at the top of the page. Let's zoom in a little bit on that awesome image. Look at that. It's been all green, yellow, and some orange lately. We finally have a stretch Thursday now all the way through Tuesday. It seems like every time I log in and look at this, it gets better. It gets better. Today, or let me back up. This past Friday, so what was that, 3 days ago, it looked like April 16th, Friday, it was going to get nasty on us. But all of a sudden, I logged in Sunday and Saturday, and it completely changed, and that front wasn't forecast to make it down. This morning I was looking at this, and April 19th it was forecasted to really jump up, and a front was going to cream us. A couple hours later, log in again, and it's totally disappeared. So very, very happy about this. The big story here is we finally have what could potentially be a long stretch of really, really nice weather coming up. So we're very, very excited about that, guys. This week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, still going to be a little bumpy, 2 to 3 foot, but it's going to definitely be calming down. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, still a little bumpy, still a little elevated winds, especially in the early morning. It's going to be calming down through the day and getting nicer towards the second half of the day. Each one of those days, but each one of those days is definitely going to be a little bumpy with that 2 to 3, maybe 3 foot seas, but not bad compared to how it's been. And then Thursday on, right now, keep your fingers crossed, knock on wood, say a prayer. Right now, Thursday on, flat calm, no wind. And it's scary to talk about because we haven't seen that in months where we get a long stretch of really nice weather. So cheers to that. Looking forward to that nice weather forecast and just keeping our fingers crossed that holds true. So not much to talk about weather-wise, which is finally a big kind of a positive piece of news to move away with during this show is we finally got some nice weather on the horizon, so I'm really hoping that that holds true. So with that, let's get into some of your questions. Don't forget, if you want one of your questions answered, you got to text in your questions right here. And if you're picked as one of those lucky winners, you got to text in your full home address. So everybody should have this phone number saved. This is a phone number you book with. This is a phone number you call if you have questions, and this is a phone number you text in your questions for our live stream show and how to claim your free trip if you're picked as one of those lucky winners. So text it. Make sure you have it saved. Favorite it. Put it on speed dial. Highly recommend that. All right, so with that, let's get into some of these questions, and also want to remind you, don't forget, we've got our Bass Pro Shops fishing conversation coming up Sunday, April 24th. Sunday, April 24th, 2 p.m. Make sure you join us over at the Tampa Bass Pro Shops for that fishing conversation. It's always a great time. We give away our 5-hour half day for 2. We give away a 10-hour all day for 2. So it's a really, really fun experience. Plus, we talk fishing, answer your questions. That's an hour-long in-person fishing seminar, fishing conversation, 2 p.m. Sunday, April 24th. Also, don't forget April 19th. That is Tuesday, April 19th. That's next week, Tuesday, April 19th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We're going to be at Bartow Ford over in Bartow. It's a little bit of a lot like Egypt if you live over here on our beautiful Gulf beaches of Pinellas County like me. It's about an hour and a half drive with the beautiful afternoon traffic through Tampa. But if you live on the east side over in Tampa, Lakeland, Bartow, Brandon, Manatee area, it's not far away for you guys, and it's going to be an awesome event. Got free food, free giveaway. We're going to have Engel Coolers swag, Real Animal swag, Hubbard's Marina stuff. We're going to have Bull Bay rods being given away. They've got free Cuban food, Cuban sandwiches, devil crab, a bunch of really, really good eating food. Plus, it's going to be me and the infamous Mike Mahoney talking offshore fishing. So it's going to be a good time for sure. So Tuesday, April 19th. And then also Sunday, April 24th. Those are our 2 fishing events that are coming up here soon. So make sure you keep that in mind and stay tuned for that. And yes, I got that, Josh, all taken care of. Just haven't got the call. So let's see here. Questions. What's your favorite dead bait for grouper? Mine is fresh octopus. I would say fresh octopus tentacle is probably one of my favorite dead baits for grouper too. Even a live octopus, but they are very difficult to deal with and to keep on the hook. But a fresh octopus tentacle is pretty much candy to not only grouper but snapper too. I've caught some really big mangrove snapper on fresh octopus tentacles. If you're offshore fishing and someone reels up an octopus, get that sucker in the boat. They're really good to eat too. I've taken a few home and kind of leaned on some people who know better than me and made ceviche out of them. You can also I think broil them or something. I really want to try one on the grill. They're good eating yourself too, but you can cut them up for bait and they make incredible bait. One of those big tentacles is probably, bar none, one of the best baits you can have out there, dead bait wise. They really, really do work well. But fresh octopus is pretty difficult to get because you can't really say, I'm going to go drop a bait down and catch me an octopus for bait. They are just, it's kind of luck of the draw. But if you can get one, great bait. Also, frozen octopus. We sell frozen baby octopus in our office. In our freezers, they're just really hard to get, especially post-COVID supply chain issues. Almost impossible for our bait supplier to get us those baby octopus. But when we have them, they make really, really good bait, especially come red snapper season. You drop a baby octopus down slowly, it won't make it to bottom before a red snapper crushes it. So that's a great option come that time of year for sure. Limit on octopus. To be honest with you, I would have to look it up. But right on our website, under fishing trips, if you scroll down, there's a fishing regulations page, and there's a link to the Fish Rules app. That's what we use to check the regulations ourselves. The Fish Rules app uses your cell phone's GPS to serve you the regulations based on your GPS. So it can get a little tricky if you're onshore and you want to know the regulations for federal waters. 9 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles offshore, you have to manually set your location before looking at the regulations. But it definitely is a great app as long as you know to make sure you're manually setting your location. It serves you up perfectly up to date information, and it's really, really good at keeping track because the Federal Fisheries Service in the Gulf of Mexico, the Federal Fisheries Service in the South Atlantic, the State Fisheries Service, FWC, they contract with Fish Rules, and they actually update the Fish Rules app themselves, and it stays up to date, and you know it's up to date for that reason. So definitely check out the Fish Rules app. That's what I would be pulling up, but I'm 99% sure there's no limit on octopus just because there's no directed fishery for them. Like I said, you can't go out there and say, I'm going to catch an octopus today. If you could, I'd be doing it. I'd be doing it a lot because they are really, really good eating. And they make great bait. Let's see. Is the 12-hour extreme good to go this Wednesday? How have they been doing? This Wednesday, off the top of my head, don't know, but we can pull up the weather here real quick and look for you guys. Let's see what the weather is looking like. Offshore Wednesday. That doesn't look great. Like I said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, still that wind is going to be elevated. So Monday, offshore, this is deeper water. Monday, it's calling 3.5 foot, blowing 20, which is borderline for the Flying Hub 2 going out. A 40-foot boat going 35 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, through 3.5 foot seas, blowing 20 is very tricky. This is borderline. Then Tuesday, it's 20 to 25, 4.5 foot, no shot, no way. If that held true, you'd have to cancel. And the same thing Wednesday, it even gets more windy and bumpy. So if this forecast holds true, the Flying Hub 2 would not be flying on an extreme trip. But as I said before, look where it goes. Thursday, Friday, and through the weekend, just absolutely flat calm, as good as it gets. super, super excited about this. The inshore weather forecast is even nicer. So inshore at the Egmont Key Buoy Monday, it's only 2.5 foot. Gorgeous. Tuesday it picks up a little bit, but still doesn't get that rough near shore, only 3.5 foot. So we'll be able to get out there Tuesday on all our trips. Wednesday, still the same, gets a lot breezier, but only 3.5 foot near shore. Offshore, 70, 100 miles out, totally different ball game. So unfortunately, doesn't look so hot for the Wednesday extreme trip, to answer your question. But hopefully we'll be able to get out there later on once that weather calms down for sure. If the octopus isn't coming up on fish rules, that just means that you're good to go. Because if it's not listed, that means they don't have a regulation for it. So whenever you can't find something on fish rules, that means it's not in the FMP or Fishery Management Plan. So there's no regulation for it, which means open season, baby. No size limit or bag limit on the octopus. So a lot of questions about red snapper season I'm seeing kind of pop up. Red snapper season gets real confusing. You guys are going to be bombarded over the course of the next 2 weeks, probably next 2 to 3 weeks, with red snapper season information. I need everybody to stop what they're doing and pay attention. FWC, anything that comes from the FWC, Governor DeSantis, anything you see coming from the state is private recreational angling. Only applying to private recreational anglers. Joe Schmo owns a boat in his backyard and he's going out fishing with his FWC private individual license. That's a private angler on a private boat. That's managed by the FWC and the state. For red snapper only, the state manages the private recreational angler not only in state waters, but also in federal waters. Now, us, Hubbard's Marina, other charter boats with federal permits, other party boats with federal permits, they got that $30,000 to $100,000 sticker on the side of the boat for that federal permit, showing they have a federal permit. And a federal permit is required to operate a for-hire operation in federal waters. So if you want to fish beyond 9 miles and you want to take compensation or any consideration, so if you take someone fishing beyond 9 miles and they cut your grass because you took them fishing, that's a charter. And under the regulation and set of rules in the government, in fisheries, you have to have a federal fishing permit in order to take any consideration to take someone fishing beyond 9 miles. Now, those federally permitted anglers in the Gulf, there's 1,289 federal permits in the Gulf of Mexico. Those federal fishing permits, we should have a 70 to 80-day season. It'll start June 1st, and the end of it will be finalized somewhere mid to late April. So in the next 2 weeks, we'll be getting an announcement, and I'll be sharing it with you guys about what our season is. In another 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the FWC is going to be making all these announcements and emailing, red snapper season is X. Pay attention to what's federal season, released by the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council, NOAA, or shared by me. Ignore an email from FWC. Every year when FWC sends out their emails, red snapper season doesn't start till June 10th? No, that's the FWC season. Don't get confused, guys. Everybody keep that in mind. Pay attention that our season will open June 1st, and it will be 70 to 80 days. That's what we were told at this Gulf Council meeting this week, and it will be finalized in the next 2 weeks. And we'll make the announcement. It should open June 1st. It'll probably run until around mid-August. So we will be adding some red snapper season trips. We will be adding some 39 hours. We'll probably be adding some more 12-hour streams. There's going to be some more openings for private charters as that season gets extended. Because we built our 2022 red snapper season based on like a 65-day season. Now we're being told it's going to be 70 or 80 days. So there's going to be an added red snapper season trip announced once they finalize that season date. So definitely stay tuned. and make sure you listen up for that. Also, seeing some good questions in the comments. They disappear really quick. You got to text in if you want your comment answered during the show. Got to text this phone number, guys. Real important. All right, so let's see. What other questions do we have here? I know you're not a fan of spinning reels on the 39-hour trip, but I've seen many folks that catch plenty of mangroves and keeper-size grouper with them. What size spinning reels would work, and what rods do you recommend? I know you're not a fan, but what do you recommend? I don't. I strongly discourage spinning rods and reels on a 39-hour trip. I can go out there on a 39 and catch plenty of fish on a spinning reel, but I'll lose just as many as you catch because you have no leverage. A spinning reel does not work for dropping to bottom. And anybody I see dropping a spinning reel to bottom for bottom fish, I immediately, unless they have something wrong with them where their shoulder's messed up or their hand can't crank a certain way, all right, fine. There's no excuse for it, though, outside of that. I mean, you have no leverage. The physics don't work. It's a high gear ratio reel. It has no power. It has no torque. All right, yes, there are spinning reels nowadays that have 1 billion pounds of drag. That's great. I don't care how much drag it has. I'm a strong, big guy. I cannot fight a fish with the spinning reel as effectively as I can with a conventional reel. If I was put out to sea and could have a choice of one rod for bottom fishing the rest of my life, I would take a cheap, old, beat-down conventional reel with 20 pounds of drag over a $1,200 brand new spinning reel with 80 pounds of drag. Because I know physics and leverage and the way you fish, bottom fishing wise, a old, junky, beat down, way lower drag, a quarter of the drag of a spinning reel, I can fight a fish more effectively, land it better, land it quicker, prevent tangles, and catch more fish with that conventional reel. Because it's all about leverage, guys. You hook a fish with a conventional reel, it's lower drag ratio. Even a high gear ratio conventional reel is like a 4 or 5, maybe 6 to 1 gear ratio. Spinning reels are like 5, 6, 7 to 1 gear ratios. The higher the gear ratio, the lower the torque. So right there off the jump, you're behind the 8 ball fishing with the spinning reel because you have no power. You have no torque. Then you hook a big fish. What do? You're fighting them with one arm. All your pressure, all your force is going through one arm, one bicep when you're fishing with a spinning reel. When you're fishing with a conventional reel, you're using your whole body. My left elbow is right in my gut, and so I'm using my body as a lever, and I'm able to lift up on that fish with my whole body, my chest, my shoulders, both arms. And I'm a big dude. I can put a hurting on a fish fighting with my whole body. One bicep, yeah, you might be able to do some damage, but you're not going to have as much power. You're not going to have as much sustainable ability to fight that fish. Whereas with the conventional rod, you're always going to be better off. So yes, a spinning reel might give you a little bit better feeling. Invest in a nicer conventional rod. So often people are like, well, I can feel the bite better with my spinning rod. And then I look at their conventional rod and they're using an $80 Walmart special. And I look at their spinning rod and it's a $250 St. Croix nice blank. It's like, no wonder you can feel the bite better on your spinning rod. It's not because it's a spinning rod. It's because it's a nicer rod. Remember, your rod should be your biggest investment. So if you're spending $600, $700 on a Talica or a Saltiga, your rod that you're putting that spinning or that conventional reel on should be $200, $300, $400, $500. Your rod should always be a bigger investment than your reel. Nowadays, with the reel prices the way they are, it's hard to find a rod that's more expensive than a reel. For example, I use our custom Bull Bay rods, $250, $280, but I put a $600, $700 reel on it in the form of that Daiwa Saltiga. So even I'm not following that advice just because it's hard to find a rod that matches up to the real prices nowadays. But you really want to make sure you have a nice rod. That's going to give you the feeling, the sensitivity. That way you can set the hook and fight that fish effectively. So to answer your question, I will not give a spinning rod recommendation on a 39-hour because I don't recommend them. And I apologize that I went on a little bit of a rant diatribe there, but it's important. So often I see people break out that spinning rod to mangrove snapper fish on a 39-hour trip at night. They hook a gag or they hook a red grouper and they get schooled, broke off, the bite shut down for everybody around them, and they lose all their tackle. Now you're down for 5-10 minutes re-rigging. So you lost your fish, you lost fishing time, everybody around you suffered because you broke that fish off. Yeah, you might be able to feel the bite better because you're using that lighter spinning reel, but you can get a really nice conventional rod and you'll be able to feel the bite just as good and have a much better opportunity to land those fish that do occasionally bite at night when you're fishing for mangroves. Can you cut strips of fresh blue runner and put it on a spoon for trolling for kings? You could. I wouldn't recommend it. Anytime you're using an artificial lure, like a DOA shrimp, a mirror lure, when you're fishing inshore in the flats, would it make sense to put a 3-inch strip of bait on that lure? No, it'd make the lure act funny. It wouldn't appear naturally, and it wouldn't track as well, and you're not going to catch as many fish. The same thing happens offshore, but for some reason that goes out the window for people. I see it all the time. Even on our slow pitch jigging trips, I see people put on a $30 jig and then they want to put power baits on them, or those little foam things with scent. That makes the jig fall differently. The reason you paid $30 for that slow pitch jig is it specifically engineered to fall and flutter a certain way. And if you off balance it by putting 2 different sets of assist hooks, or you put a little piece of power bait on it, or you put a strip of squid on it, for goodness sakes, why'd you spend the $30? Just take the jig off, put a hook on it. Any sort of strip of bait on any sort of artificial lure is not a good idea, in my opinion. Unless, the only time that I would ever consider that is if you're bottom dropping like one of those hog balls or naked ball jigs, or you're using that jig head red grouper approach. So like hogfish, red grouper, where you're casting out away from the boat and you're kind of popping that jig along the bottom back to you. Those are the type of jigs where, yeah, you tip those with bait, because you're not getting that, you're not working that jig for action. You're working that jig to attract the fish and a reactionary strike. In a reactionary strike situation where action of the jig is not important, you could tip it. So spoon trolling, the reason you're using a spoon is just for that reason. It's a spoon. It acts a certain way on the water. And what a spoon does is it sits back there and twists, and it emits those flashes every time it catches the sunlight and reflects the light. Those reflections are what's going to attract that kingfish, not so much the scent. Keep in mind, you're moving 6, 7, 8, 9 knots. That's almost 10, 12 miles an hour. So that thing could smell to high heavens, and it's going to be a lot less attractive than something that's going to keep emitting over longer distances, like a reflection of light. You put a strip of squid on that spoon, it's not going to be able to rotate as easily. You're not going to get as many light flashes. So that spoon working the way it's supposed to and appearing and working like the jig is engineered to work is more important to me than a little bit of scent that might be trailing behind that jig as it moves 10, 12 miles an hour through the water column. So that's just my 2 cents. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Do I call the number tomorrow to claim the prize? No, guys. If you're picked as the lucky winner, you got 5 minutes to text this phone number. We say it in the beginning of the video. We say it a few times during the video. If you're picked as the lucky winner, the only way to claim your free trip is by texting this phone number within 5 minutes of being chosen. That's so real important. Save this phone number, have it handy, and watch the show live, because you can't wait. And we're getting more strict with that because we got to try to keep it fair, guys. We want to make sure people who are actually watching will actually have a better chance of winning. Will there be a show on Easter Sunday? So if you asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have said probably not. We're going to take Easter Sunday off. But I missed last week because of that fisheries meeting, and I got permission. So we're doing the show next week. Easter Sunday, we will have our live stream show. So make sure you kick your family out early and tune into the show next week. It'll be a good one. It'll be a fun time. We are doing our live stream show next week, Easter Sunday. Our office is closed. Business is closed, but live stream is open for business, baby. All right, let's see here. What other questions do we have? I think we answered a lot of these. Remember, if you do have a question, you can text us in your question here, show. Can you tell us what you recommend, rod and reel and rigs for Kingfish? Well, I mean, it changes because it depends on what you're doing. Are you trolling for those kingfish? Are you flatlining for those kingfish? What are you doing with it? So, I mean, general rule of thumb for kingfish, you want a softer rod tip, slower action. They have a soft mouth. You have a real fast action, stiff rod, they're going to be more likely to hit and get that hook ripped. So you want to have the drag set softly. You want to have a slower action, softer rod. And you want something with a lot of line capacity. So yet again, gonna give a shout out to those conventional reels. I will always use a conventional reel when flatlining when I have the option. Now there is a caveat. If the current's not running right, if I don't have a strong wind and I don't have a balloon to set up that flat line, sometimes you have to use a spinning rod so you can get a better kind of underhand or kind of side cast, get it further away from the boat. So I do use spinning rods for flatlining, but I would always prefer to use a conventional rod. If you've got a real strong current, it doesn't matter. You don't have to cast it out. The current will take the bait out for you. You got a strong wind, put a little balloon on there. The wind will take that bait out for you. And then you can use a conventional reel, and you're going to have more line capacity. So if a wahoo or a sailfish or the random 40, 50, 60-pound kingfish comes, you're going to have a fighting chance with more line capacity. Plus, on a party boat, for example, one of the coolest things Smokey taught me at a young age is you let that fish run. Let him run. He takes his initial run, let him go. Keep that drag light, let him get far away from the boat, and then start putting a little drag on him and fight and tire that fish out while he's far away from the boat. So that way, by the time you start getting him closer to the boat, he's tired. If you have it to where, I got hooked up, and you set that drag right away and you start cranking to the boat real fast, a lot of times that fish will get to the boat, and then he sees the boat, and he's like, oh, crap, I'm hooked. Once they realize they're hooked, they dart. And if you get him close to the boat and there's 20 other lines in the water and he darts, there's a really good chance he's going to get tangled up, and there's less of a chance you're going to be able to catch and land that fish successfully. Whereas if you let him run, and he takes a real long run, and you're using a conventional reel with a lot of line capacity, you can let him run and let him get far away from the boat, let him tire himself out away from those other lines, and then by the time you get him close to the boat, he's got no energy for a big, hard run next to the boat. We can get a gaff in him, get him up on the deck, and he's cooked. He's in the fish box, you know. A much higher chance of landing that fish successfully when you let him run initially and let him tire himself out away from the boat. Now, if you're on a small boat, it's a tournament, yeah, get him to the boat quick. But in a party boat situation or in a situation where you have other people on the boat who aren't going to reel up and get out of your way, let that fish run. Let him get away from the boat. Let him tire himself out away from the boat. But as far as the rigs go, your question about rigs, right on our website, if you go to our website and hit the fishing trips tab under fishing trips, you can scroll down to the fishing video links and go to fishing tips and tricks. We've got a ton of videos on our website. And if you go to the fishing video links page, we got the nearshore and offshore tips. We've got rigging tips. We've got general tips. And we've even got some inshore fishing tips and cleaning also. I forgot we had cleaning videos on there. But if you go to the rigging tips, there's how to tie a variety of different knots, how to rig. But this is the, where is it? I missed it. There it is. This is the how to rig for Kingfish video. Really, really quick and easy method. We'll watch it real fast because it's a short video. What is that, Smoke?
This is a 44-pound wire.
44-pound wire.
Yep.
You cut a little 6-inch section to start?
Yeah, just like that.
Nice.
But, I do two treble hooks.
2 treble hooks.
Yeah.
Take a little piece out, bend it back.
Twist it, make it like that.
Yeah.
Alright, and then just keep twisting, do like 4 or 5 of those. On this next one, I'm gonna make this one go straight, right on a 45, like that.
Ah,
right?
Perfect.
And then you put 4 barrel rolls.
Nice.
Bend it right here.
Yeah.
Go back and forth, and it'll pop right off.
Nice. That was quick.
Put another one on the other side, and depending on the size of the bait, is where I put this hook. I'm gonna use a thread fin herring, and it's probably about like that. You want this one right in the nose and this one right in the tail.
All right, so your spacing on the hook is dependent on the size bait you're using.
Exactly. All right, bend it right there. On that angle.
That's a fancy little move. That's just so you don't have to cut it.
Yep. And then this one, if you cut it, it can poke you.
Ah.
Right, this one goes in the hook, not in the wire. So it's hook to hook here. Right.
In the hook, not the wire.
Same thing.
So 3 twists, and then you turn it 90 degrees. And do another 5.
Yep. Okay.
Show us this one where you break it off.
Bend that like that.
You tag in, just bend it 90 degrees.
Back and forth. If you go up on top of that second barrel roll, it won't break off.
Ah.
All right. Look just like that.
So now we've got our 2 hooks. Oh, you're gonna do the line to leader knot or line to wire knot instead of putting a swivel on there?
Yeah, I like to do one about this long because the big ones sometimes they'll swallow the whole leader. And if you have a swivel on there, little mackerels and stuff will hit the swivel.
Ah, so you're avoiding putting the swivel on to avoid mackerels
So
hitting your
bend it
swivel.
right there.
So you're doubling the wire up.
Yep, just go like that.
Right through the wire.
And then I go around this one like 4 times. You know
Just
what?
like you're twisting the wire, basically.
Yeah, right through there. Slide it down, pull it tight.
A little fisherman's knot. So it's basically a clinch knot, but instead of using mono, you're using wire.
I don't know the name of it.
Huh. Very cool.
Then I'll kind of bend that one up a little bit. And you can clip this thing off pretty short. Right there.
So you cut this wire.
Yeah. You never want to
Can I
grab
see
that
that
thing.
knot?
If you grab it, it'll poke you.
It'll grab you, it'll poke you.
Yeah, so if you go to grab the leader and you got a fish on there,
Can you put your hand behind it? It's a little fuzzy. There you go. Very cool. Nice. And then you got your
Then I got.
nice. All right, so where is the fish gonna, or where is the bait gonna get hooked up? Do we have a bait? You gonna show them?
I got a nasty one here.
A nasty one? A nasty one will work. All right, show us how you rig it up.
And it doesn't matter if this thing's dead or alive. You do it the same.
Dead or alive, you hook them the same way.
Right here in the nose, or right there in the nose, straight down, like that.
Straight down in the top of the nose.
And then-
Oh, fancy.
I go right here in the tail.
Very cool. So down through the top of the nose is the way Smokey likes it. Very cool. And that's all it takes. Free line that out there behind the boat.
And then you want to have a pretty good, like this reel right here, Ocean Master. Right, when I set it up in the rod holder, I'll set it up with a clicker on and just let it sit out there.
That's it.
That much drag.
Special smoky rig for those kingfish and mackerel. So it's a stinger rig essentially is a better name for it, or the common name for it. So we use the stinger rig when we're flat lining with dead bait or live bait, and that is a super soft rod with a conventional reel. Lots of line capacity. That's the trick, especially braided line. If you're going to have a reel set aside for flat line, and braided line is a really great idea to make sure you have plenty of line capacity. And Ryan and McKenna, I agree. That was a special nasty bait that was set aside for that video. I remember filming it, and that smell lingered for a while, let me tell you. But hopefully you enjoyed that video. Showed you a little bit more about that kingfish rig. It's that time of year, and that shows you some of the great rigging videos that are right there on our website for your information. Anytime you can pop over there. There's tons of great tips and tricks and tons of videos on our website. So definitely check that out. All right, so with that, let's see who won a 5-hour half day for 2 guests. 5-hour half day for 2 guests. That is a $150 value. Remember, you got 5 minutes or less to claim your free trip. Ryan Friend from Ohio, congratulations on your free trip, my brother. You got to text us at that phone number right there within 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. So make sure you claim it, and hopefully we'll see you soon down from Ohio. Now, we have a few things to cover here before we wrap up. We started a little late, so I ran a little late on purpose tonight. So hopefully you don't mind. Again, we hope to see you April 19th at Bartow Ford over in Bartow, 6 to 8 p.m. It's going to be tons and tons of fun. Going to be a cool event for sure. April 24th, Sunday, April 24th, 2 p.m. at Tampa Bass Pro Shops. Make sure you join us for that. Don't forget, every Friday morning, we've got our Fox 13 news segment. Every Friday morning around 8:15 a.m. that airs. Saturday mornings, we've got our Real Animals radio show. And I'm going to start putting a disclaimer out there. I cannot control, nor do I endorse or support some of the comments that are stated on that live stream show from our radio show Saturday mornings. It is more PG-13. It's 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., but we wake up early, and sometimes some of us roll out of the wrong side of the bed there. So just a little disclaimer that it is maybe not so kid-friendly sometimes. Because the radio show obviously is. It's nice and PG, but the cool part about our Saturday morning radio shows, we stream it live over our Facebook page, but you guys catch the commercial breaks. And on commercial breaks, we have some kind of more passionate discussions that are not so censored because the FCC isn't listening. So just keep in mind, sometimes it can get a little bit carried away, and we love each other, but we fight like brothers. So just keep that in mind as you watch the video. And if you watched this past radio show from this past Sunday, you know what I'm talking about. Also, our Sunday night live stream shows every Sunday night. I apologize, I missed you last week, but was traveling for that National Marine Fisheries meeting, and that is super important. Definitely some scary stuff on the horizon for gag grouper. Also, out of that National Marine Fisheries meeting, amberjack season not looking so hot. This year, amberjack will be open the whole month of May, and it's supposed to be open August, September, and October. There's some discussion, and honestly, I'm kind of pushing to have that capped or potentially even closed. And the reason why is they're about to cut our amberjack quota to nothing. So if we start fishing for amberjack the way the fishing season and fishing year is structured, if they open amberjack August 1st and we fish for them August, September, and October, and then come January they enact this lower catch level that they're working on, because the fishing year actually starts August 1 for that species, it's kind of funky. We will have overfished our quota before the quota's in place. So when the quota goes into place, there will be paybacks and these accountability measures, which could potentially close amberjack fishing completely for 1 to 2 years. So I'm really kind of pushing for some caution and potentially capping this fall season for amberjack, so that way we don't have these accountability measures. And once we have our kind of more solidified idea of what the council's going to do, where those quotas fall, then we'll have a more set, steady season that we'll be able to kind of look forward to. But it's going to get short. Amberjack season is going to be measured in weeks, like 4 to 6 to 10 weeks. Gag grouper season, potentially 4 to 8 weeks come 2023. So gag grouper season's getting cut. Amberjack season's getting cut. Red grouper could potentially only be 9, 10, 11 months. So we're really fighting a lot of different fronts here, a lot of different species. Access is shrinking. More people are on the water. Quotas are being caught more quickly. Data collection is a huge problem. Charter fishing, commercial fishing, we're really trying to work to fixing our data problems and data issues and trying to improve the data inputs and throughputs to remove any guessing, remove any estimations, whereas there's a huge number of private boats out there, which is great. Love it. Everybody should have a chance to fish out there in federal waters, but there's a problem with how many people are out there fishing. What are they catching? They're still using surveys and estimates to try to come up with those numbers, and no one likes estimates and surveys. I personally have been a big proponent of our data collection program in charter boats because it removes the estimation. I don't agree with all the different things we have to do. For example, before we run a trip, we have to hail out and tell them where we're leaving from, when we're leaving, how many people we have, who's the captain, what boat we're taking, where we're fishing, all this information. Then prior to offloading fish, we have to tell them how long we fished, where we fished, what we caught, what we released, what we caught and kept, what we released and died, how much the trip cost, how many people we had, what we paid our crew, what we paid for fuel, how much fuel we used. A ton of information. And then on top of that, we have to have what's called a vessel monitoring system permanently affixed to the vessel every hour, transmitting our location live to federal fisheries managers. That's what we do in the charter fleet to try to make sure that our data is managed in such a way where we're a census-based management. There's no guessing, there's no surveys, there's no estimation. Commercial fleet is 10 times harder than ours. They have to jump through some crazy hoops. So it's definitely an issue where that sort of data program doesn't work for private recreational anglers. But there's something that needs to be done because as more people are out there fishing, which is, again, a great thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But there's got to be some sort of way that we can kind of get a handle on how many people are out there and a general idea of what they're catching so we can remove the estimates, we can remove the unknowns, and we can better manage our fisheries and provide more access to everybody. Definitely going to be a big situation we're looking at and a big problem that we're going to have to hurdle probably in my lifetime, hopefully in my lifetime. But don't want to get too far down that road. We start losing people, but that is a whole different show for sure. Probably should do a video to kind of summarize what happened at this recent council meeting and what to look forward to. So stay tuned for that. Maybe I'll drink a bunch of coffee and get that done this week. Also, make sure you join us next week, Easter Sunday, April 17th. We're going to have a live stream show coming up, so definitely check that out. Also, give a shout out to our friends, Gator Gyms. This show is brought to you by Gator Gyms Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete, 33712. Thank you, and a shout out to our other sponsors and partners over at the Real Animals Fishing Show, Yamaha, Bass Pro Shops, Ingle Coolers, Salt Strong, Aquatic Nutrition, Sport Fishing Chums, Cleanse Oil, and Bull Bay Rods. Also, don't forget to check us out on TikTok, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Trovo, Nextdoor, and LinkedIn. And make sure you like and follow our pages, guys. We appreciate it. And I think that's everything I had to say. So hopefully we'll see you next week for another episode of the live show. If you're a supporter, highly appreciate your support. Thank you for being a supporter. Our supporters after show, better known as Slack Tides, our Slack Tides supporters only after show will start at 9:55. We're going to call it 9:55. So that is the Slack Tides supporters after show. You can become a supporter tonight. It's only $4.99 a month. You get a lot of behind-the-scenes info, better communication. Our crew captains kind of more laid back, more one-on-one stuff, and behind-the-scenes info like advanced schedules and just more communication, so kind of behind-the-scenes stuff. Plus the weekly after show, which is a big benefit, kind of less people there and better opportunity to ask your questions. So think about it. Worth it. $4.99 a month, $4.99. So less than $5 a month for that. Definitely check it out. With that, let's give away our 39-hour fishing trip for one guest and see who our lucky winner is tonight. The lucky winner of our 39-hour fishing trip for one guest is... Appreciate y'all tuning in and hanging out with us, guys. Jeff Reicher from Palm Beach County. Congratulations, Jeff. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. And hopefully you enjoyed the show. Hopefully we'll see you soon inside Johns Pass at Fish Famous Hubbard's Marina. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Thanks for hanging out and joining us. And hopefully we'll see you again soon inside Johns Pass. See you.